One of the first specific topics that I wanted to discuss was the topic of leadership. And why is leadership such an important topic, and why do we need to do it at the beginning? When I say a leader is not a designation like, I am the director at Plutus, for example, or I am the senior manager at EY, or I am the CEO at some company. That is a designation. A leader is not a designation. In my opinion, most leaders are born that way. I mean, if I were to quote and think of some leader, the first name that would come to my mind is our honorable prime minister, our current prime minister, which is Shri Narendra Modi. He has certain skills which basically maybe it is his oratory skills, his vision, his policy, which helps to shape, the idea of an emerging nation. Whether I agree with his policies or not is a separate discussion altogether. But the nation has chosen him as its leader. If I were to think of leaders, I could also think of, say, late Mr. Ratan Tata. What a fine man. And, the entire, not just the entire company, but the entire industry and the entire country looked up to this person because he had set certain principles and established certain ways of behavior, which everybody found it good enough to imbibe, and people were able to connect with his vision and follow his vision. If I can quote Ratan Tata as an example of a great leader and someone I personally admire and respect, I think a great leader I could also find in Adolf Hitler. He is a cruel person, no doubt. He caused deaths of millions and millions and millions of people. No one is contesting that. But my discussion is not about his moral compass. My discussion here is about, was he able to motivate a lot of people to join his cause? Was he able to make people do the things that he wanted them to do? Was he someone who could channel people's energies in a particular direction for the achievement of a common objective? Yes. Were all his methods good? No, in fact, none of his methods were acceptable. But nevertheless, what he did was he had, I could say, a hypnotic effect on Germans at that point in time. Our prime minister in 2014 had, there was a whole Modi wave, as people call it, which means people were in a spell. People wanted to follow what he told them to follow. Mr. Ratan Tata, till the very end, people looked up to him for the way he carried on not just his company, but he led by example in many different areas. And that is what the concept of leadership is all about. A leader is someone, who is, it's not a see, a prime minister is a designation, but a leader is not a designation. A leader is someone who has the capability to take people along and make them all work towards a common objective. There have been times when people have said कि otherwise I wouldn't do this job, but तुम बोल रहे हो इसीलिए I am doing it for you because I believe in your ability to lead the team, to lead the organization. I might not agree with some of your ways, but I agree with your vision and I agree with how you are going to deliver on that vision for the greater good. Excellent leadership involves having a team of capable and responsible directors, setting an appropriate tone from the top, and embedding appropriate corporate and cultural values within the organization. When I say, see, in an organization, in a company, for example, all the activities are being handled by the directors of the company. The who are the directors now? You should also understand that I cannot become a director directly. Basically, a company, who are the owners of a company? Shareholders are the owners of a company. Now, when these shareholders come together, see, there are 50 lakh shareholders in Reliance. I also hold some 20 shares, for example, but I cannot participate in the decision making on a day-to-day basis. I have a very small stake in the company. I don't want to waste my time behind it. So what I do is, me and other shareholders, we come together in a meeting of the shareholders. There are a couple of people who are nominated for the post of a director, and we vote like the general elections of the country, like the state elections of your state. There are elections that happen for the post of a director. These are the people who we as shareholders are appointing to run the company on our behalf. And they are the ones who are going to lead the company. Technically, that is what an appointed director is. So these are basically people who should be responsible enough to run the company. And one thing that one must always keep in mind is that the directors are at the top and they have the ability to set the tone in which the organization works. If the head of the department walks in on time, then naturally everyone else also feels obligated that if the boss is walking in on time, people also feel obligated to be there on time. I mean, the person I did my articleship with, huge respect for that man. He would make sure that he would stay in office till the last person finished his job and left. So that creates a sense of respect also, and that ensures that this person is not just asking you to sit late and work, he's also sitting there and working with you. This discussion is going to understand how do you create a leader? Can leaders be created or are leaders born? How is it that leaders help the organization move from one stage to another? And what are some of the qualities that leaders need to possess in order to push the organization in the right direction? Now, the role of a strategic leader, see, the exam is strategic business leadership. So, you have to drive the organization, you have to push it forward. And a leader is someone who exercises influence, who is not necessarily appointed, who might not have a designation, but someone who generates that confidence amongst all the people in the organization. In case of the prime minister, he is setting that for the entire country, Adolf Hitler, hopefully. I mean, that's the expectation. Now, a strategic leader is concerned with, when I say strategic management, I mean long term goals of the company, long term plans of the company. We are not talking about आज रात को खाने में क्या बनाना है. We are not talking about how should the roads in Mumbai be developed in the next 6 months. No, a strategic leader who hopefully the chief minister of that particular state should be, there has to be a long term objective that in a span of 5 years, what all am I going to do in order to achieve the whatever the mission and the vision of the organization is. Mission is the overriding purpose of the organization. Why do I exist? मैं क्यों हूँ? Sometimes when you look at people and I feel like asking तू क्यों है? It's that is my question for people here. The word mission means why do I exist? Why is the organization existing in the first place? Vision is the future position that you want to reach. Say, I could have a 1 year vision, 5 year vision. A strategic vision is a long term vision. If somebody asks me, what is your mission? My mission is, for example, to spread financial literacy in the country. It is not, but let's assume that it is my mission is to spread financial literacy. My vision could be to educate 10 lakh housewives in the country on financial literacy by the end of 2027. Now, I have a future state for the organization, future state for my, where what do I want to achieve is my vision, but mission is why do I exist? So, setting the vision and mission of the organization and then pushing people to do it, setting the strategic objectives, example, which products to make and which markets to sell it in, managing change at the organization. Change management is, say, for example, I'm moving away from something as simple as a tally software to an Oracle, or I'm moving to SAP. How do I manage that particular change? What kind of decisions am I making, and are they proving to be useful for the organization in the long run? For example, uh, I decide to discontinue a particular vertical, or I decide to foray into a new territory in, say, Australia. I want to start my operations there. Those kind of decisions. How should the structure of the organization be? All of these are jobs of a leader, of a strategic leader. There is some discussion among academics about whether leadership and management are the same thing. Kotter said that managers create plans while leaders create a vision. Now, people always have a, I mean, that is the norm. People have a problem with their managers because managers are, as the name suggests, they are managing your work, they are guiding your work. But leaders are supposed to inspire you. Managers are supposed to push you to work, leaders inspire you. Mintzberg disagreed, stating that managers need a vision while a vision needs management. This is basically playing with words. These are basically, I always think of these as people who were sitting in their houses smoking a pipe on a Friday evening, and suddenly they felt that, oh, this particular line makes a lot of sense. It sounds poetic also, so let's put it across as a principle for future people to follow. Now, in your SBL exam, you don't necessarily need to remember these two names, huh, specifically. In other areas, I will tell you where you have to remember the names. Kotter and Mintzberg, not necessarily. At this point, definitely not. Different people, they look at management in a different way. When I lead a team, and I have led teams in the past, I allow people to do what they want as long as they are operating within the basic framework that I have given them. I don't micromanage. I don't even give a lot of input to people unless I feel that they need that particular input. So my position as a leader is identifying what you want, identifying what you are capable of doing, and then bringing it all together and helping the organization. It's about keeping the people happy and at the same time ensuring that in that particular state, my organization goals are being achieved. Adair discussed the importance of leadership on the functioning of groups of people. A leader is responsible for ensuring that the group achieves its task. The people within the group are held together as a working unit and the needs of the individual are met. So it's the job, the organization, and the individual. All three of them are, functioning in tandem with each other. What is the job? The job is that I want someone to teach financial management or audit and assurance in the upcoming batch. That is the task. I know that my faculty is not probably in the best of health. So I cannot ask that faculty to do a 4 hour class or two classes in a day. But I know that if I tell the faculty, "Okay, listen, I'm lessening the burden that you are supposed to carry. I will give you one class. I'll not give you anything in the second half. You do only one class in the morning for 3 hours and then you can rest." And I can then allocate that work smartly amongst the other team members. So the task is also done. The team is also not overburdened. The individual is also not overburdened. And everyone is at their best possible productive capacity and efficiency. Now, leadership is the way I would lead a team, the way I have managed a team is, see, I cannot make one person happy and the other person unhappy. I sometimes, as a leader, I have to lull people into that false sense of having achieved something and making sure that no one is completely happy and no one is completely dissatisfied also. It's like walking around eggshells, by the way. Being a leader is, I cannot simply use the card, the way your mom uses the card. If you ask her, why should I do this? Why should I drink milk? The answer would be because I say so. I can't say that to my team every time. I can maybe say that to them once. I cannot say that to them again and again. Effective leadership is particularly important when an organization is going through strategic change. In most organizations, leadership is performed by the board of directors, CEO, CFO. We call them C suite employees. Who are C suite? C as in the letter C. C suite is CEO, Chief Executive Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, so on and so forth. They are expected to be leaders. And you can make a whole list of, what are the qualities that a leader should possess. He should be adaptable to situations. This is a trait is a quality. If I am a leader, I should be able to adjust. I should not be the one complaining. And I should be alert to social environment. What do I mean by being alert to social environment? For example, if I tell you that, listen, uh, there is, rising, this, for example, a lot of companies are now going for the menstrual leave policy. Now, I know that the social environment is changing in a certain way. Now, instead of making an explicit rule, I should be aware that overall there is this change and there is a valid expectation that the female members in my team might need that day off. So I know how the world around me is functioning, how they are evolving, and I am making similar allowances for my team. I should be ambitious and achievement oriented. See, ultimately, what matters to me is the numbers. I'm not running a charitable organization. But while doing that, I have to keep my people in mind. I have to be assertive as a leader. There is a difference in being assertive and aggressive. If somebody says, Satyamed, do this fourth batch, okay, or if I have to tell it to someone कि ये बैच भी तुमको करना है, so I can say, अरे I know I'm paying you 5 lakh rupees per month, you have to do this batch, you don't have a choice. I am paying you, so you should do the job. You are getting your money on time, so you have no option but to pay for me. That is aggressive behavior. That is not necessary. Being assertive means telling them in a firm but polite way that, listen, this is the job, and I know you are the best person for this job. I want you to do this. Whatever challenges you might face in delivering on that front, please let me know. Cooperative between other departments, with the team, with people outside the organization. Decisive, being very clear, having a very clear vision and being able to decide without dilly dallying too much. There are people who constantly change their decisions. I mean, when I talk to people in webinars, they are like, should I do CA? Should I do ACCA? Should I write one paper? Should I write two papers? Array, what is such a big deal to decide? You want to write one paper, you work for one paper, make a decision and move in that direction. I hate sitting on the fence. I cannot be in that state of, constant confusion. A leader has to be dependable. If something doesn't work, he should be the one who can roll up his sleeves and enter and solve that situation himself. Which is why I personally believe that whatever the team member does, the leader should know how it is done. If somebody in my team is formatting a Word document and he brings that sheet to me and I say, Arey, what hopeless formatting you have done, I don't like it. I should be able to show him how that work is done. Tomorrow, if push comes to shove, if people are not there, I should rise up to the occasion and I should be able to deliver on that. I should be dominant. That is, I should have a desire to influence others. There are people who like to work as individual contributors who don't want to lead a team because they don't want to make people work according to their whims and fancies. So that could be one way of looking at it. Ki, bhai, I don't have a desire to influence others, so I would much rather be an individual contributor. I don't want to be a leader, and that's fine. Energetic, high level of activity. You cannot be sitting back and expecting others to work. वो बोलते हैं ना, कंधे से कंधा मिला के चलना है. And when people fall down, you should be in a position to lead them. You should be in a position to demonstrate by example and motivate them to do better. Persistent is hardworking, confident that everyone should be. Tolerant of stress. My God, this is a capability that most people don't possess. I'm not saying even I possess it in the right way. The stress could be in the form of a client pushing for deadlines. It could be in the form of the shareholders pushing for something, some team member creating some drama, or some junior team member acting in a very rude manner and making it unprofessional. So, stress comes in from all forms. You should be able to take it without passing it on to others in the team. If I react to a situation as someone puts a pressure on me and I yell at the people working with me, they will take it once, they will take it twice, they will not take it the third time. And that is, something which leaders should be able to possess, that they should have the ability to absorb the stress without passing it on. You have to be a sponge. You have to absorb the stress. You cannot pass it on to other people in the team. And you have to take up responsibility. The skills that a leader trait is a quality. Trait either you have or you don't have. Either you are confident or you are not confident. A person, excuse me, or you are highly energetic. You like high activity level. I'm shooting this video at 12:04 a.m. by the way. I don't know why I felt the need to talk about it. Maybe because I wanted to stress on the energetic part. You have to be able to do what everyone does and much more. Skills can be developed. Some part of the skill can be developed. Trait is a quality. Mostly you have it or you don't have it. Okay, so you have to be smart, you have to be creative. Not all problems will have a perfect textbook solution. There are times, when the client calls and says, oh, why is your resource not here? You can't say, Kiare, he's not picking my call. You have to say that he's facing a family emergency, which is why he's not here. So you have to be diplomatic, you have to be clever, and you have to be fluent in your thoughts and fluent in your speech. You should be able to persuade the other person. Persuasion is a skill that can be developed. I have been persuaded by people to do things that I never wanted to do. Somewhere I also have that skill, but I wouldn't say I have developed it completely yet. And most important, socially skilled. You honestly, you should be able to do small talk with people. Initially, I found that a waste of time, but then I have realized that small talk is conversation grease. You need it to get people to talk. So, Lombardo and McCall identified four primary traits by which leaders could succeed: emotional stability and composure. My God, very important. I have had shouting matches where somebody has yelled at me and I have yelled back. I have had those bursts of emotion, and that is the one thing as a leader which you are not supposed to show in front of public. You can cry all you want in private, but publicly you should not be showing that you are suffering from stress, because if other people notice, they will either take advantage or they will realize that you are weak and not fit to lead them. You should have the ability to admit error, but again, that has to be done in a very tactful manner. This is a rather textbook approach. In a highly competitive environment, the moment you say that, oh, I made a mistake, there are people who are sitting around you right there to jump at you and tear you apart. I have made this mistake of admitting my error, and I have had very young people who are not experienced tear me down. So now I don't do it anymore. I do it in a very tactful manner. Good interpersonal skills, ability to communicate, ability to speak, and of course intellectual breadth. See, depth and breadth are two things. One thing where the CA versus MBA debate works is MBAs have breadth of knowledge, they don't have depth. They have heard the term revenue, they have heard IFRS 15, they don't know performance obligation or modification of a contract, but they know everything, little of everything. And Adair also suggested qualities that are necessary for good leaders. You will see a lot of overlap between what is written for Adair and what is given in the traits identified by this gentleman called Stockdale. Okay, now when I'm talking about transformational leadership, transformation is change, and a complete revolutionary change is what I'm talking about. Transformational leaders aim to achieve organization change and improvement by impacting the culture of the organization. My dear Mr. Hitler, for example, nothing dear there by the way, but still, he changed the way Germany was thinking. And just imagine, the same country which produces an Albert Einstein also produces an Adolf Hitler. I would call him a very effective leader because simply through his speeches, he was able to change the way people think. People became ready to kill other people because they believed in what Adolf Hitler was saying, and that is transformational leadership. Someone who completely changes the way you think and makes you do something that normally you wouldn't have done. Come to think of it, isn't this hypnosis in a way that you are making someone do something that normally they would have never thought of doing in the first place? Okay, supporters of transformational theories of organization believe that people will follow a person who inspires them. A person with vision and passion can achieve great things, and the way to get things done is by injecting enthusiasm and energy. You should listen to the way the Prime Minister speaks. Another person who I'm not a big fan of that way, but someone who speaks really well is Smriti Irani. Someone who speaks really well is Shashi Tharoor, although he might not be able to influence people in the same way. But someone like Mamta Banerjee, for example, again, not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of anyone from politics, but listen to the way she talks. You and I might not agree with it, but there are people in one part of the country who strongly resonate with what she is saying, and that injects enthusiasm. So, in a transformational leadership, first step is the development of a vision that, guys, I want to become, say, I have a team and I'm telling them, listen, my vision is to completely transform the edtech space in ACCA, CPA, and I want to change the way the country looks at foreign courses, and all of this could be my vision. So first step is development of that vision, and I want to make sure that everyone amongst them believes in it. And only when they believe in it will we have the capacity to convert that dream into a reality, to convert that vision into a reality. The next step, which in fact never stops, is to constantly sell the vision. They say na sapne becho. What is the sapna? The sapna is to make this particular company the biggest in terms of edtech, in terms of finance and accounts courses. And the leader must use every opportunity and will use whatever works to convince them to come on board. And you have to create that trust. Okay, this is something we can work towards. This is something that makes sense, and we are also going to gain something from it. How do you convince people to believe in what you want for the organization? They are only getting their salary, and people can say, मुझे जितना पैसा मिलता है मैं उतना ही काम करूंगा. Why should I work more than that? So think about it. Every person you want to enlist in your cause will have one question: what is in it for me? What am I getting out of it? So every person will have to be shown that carrot ki, okay, if you do this, this is what you will ultimately get. So you have to be a salesperson first in that way. And then a plan is required which will take you from the current state to the desired state. It's, how they call it, that promised land, or that big dream that, that unreal dream that you have shown to people. Now you have to take them there. And how do you do it? You have to lead, you have to show by action. You can't just say that, work for so many hours in a week. You have to do that yourself. And only when you do it, people will be inspired to do it. If this person can do it, so can I. In the next session, we are going to have a small discussion on Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Okay, authentic leadership. Uh, the 2008 financial crisis severely damaged public trust in business leaders, a trust that had already been damaged by corporate governance scandals of Enron and WorldCom. Authentic leadership can be seen as a response to public perceptions of corporate self interest, with leaders showing a greater interest in societal issues and a desire to bring about lasting contribution. The Enron scandal and the WorldCom scandal were basically corporate governance problems, multiple issues. That's a separate discussion altogether. What happened in 2008, the global financial crisis, which was basically triggered by the subprime crisis in lending in the United States. Because of that, there was so much damage that was done to the social fabric, and so much damage that was done to public trust, that nobody wanted to believe even one line that was quoted in the financial statements. Everything was viewed with constant doubt. Everything was viewed with suspicion. And so the the leadership to emerge in these times were people who were making certain uh, impactful changes on the society. Self awareness, that was, where the leaders are basically required to look within and be aware of what they are bringing to the table. And a core tenet of authentic leadership is that a leader cannot be authentic while trying to imitate another person. You have to be yourself. You cannot lead like someone. I'm sure when you guys watch cricket, there are certain characteristics that you identify with captains. And I'm not very well versed with cricket, but I know that when you look at a Rohit Sharma, there is something that connects him to you, but you are not a part of the team, but that connects him to his team. And he cannot aspire to be a captain like Dhoni or someone else. He has to be his own person, his own strengths and weaknesses, and how he pushes the team to achieve that. Most importantly, an ability to stay calm under pressure and to deliver on all fronts, even under times of great pressure, is your ability as a leader. I want you to read this particular example once, and of course, we will be discussing this in the next